Stage Pass. It is Monday, the first, I guess, second full week of November here, too. Almost said the first week wasn't, but we did have a first full week of November, almost there, 4 or 5 days. And of course, this being the second week here on the Sports Guys podcast.com, powered by that. And of course, the Backstage Pass presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey. You can check them out at bangtail.com or check them out too as well at the Easy Liquor app. Get that bottle sent directly to your door. Like online shopping, especially with the holidays coming up. You need a little holiday beverage. Bangtail Whiskey is what you need at your house, no doubt about it. First of 3 shows coming up today. I'm pleased to welcome in a legend, no doubt about it. He needs no introduction, but I'm going to give it to him anyway, too. He started all over Texas, back in Greenville, of course, in the early 40s, and Dad went to Europe in World War II. And, of course, the younger brother of the great Lefty Frizzell, David Frizzell, joins us here on the Backstage Pass. David, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing good, and man, I've been trying to get ready for you, so I've been singing a few Lefty songs this morning.
That's a good thing, no doubt, brother. Well, hey, let's talk about this. We were mentioning Beaumont, and of course, you know, in Texas from Greenville, and of course, this town very well, Sulphur Springs, but places like that where Lefty kind of got his start and his first #1 hit, and of course, you guys stretching out, making the Frizzell name as big as it was in the music industry. Tell me kind of some of the best memories of getting started down here in Texas.
Well, I tell you what, we were living in Snyder at this particular time, and Lefty came by the house. Oh, he was on tour, so it had to be probably 1950, somewhere in there, 1951 something, because I was pretty young. I think probably 1950. And Lefty had, if you got me, I got the time, and another one, I Love You 1,000 Ways. Those are the 2 big hits that he had in 1950. Well, he came by the house. And he'd been on tour all over Texas and everything. And he came by. I was a pretty young kid. I was about 8 or 9 years old, I guess. And my sister Betty was there, and Mom and Dad and all. So he came by to see us every once in a while when he was coming in that whatever direction we were at. And my dad was working in the oil field, so we were just everywhere. You know, when that oil well was done, he'd go find another one. You know, he'd move us all wherever we was going. But we was in Snyder this particular time, and he came by the house, and he said, "Hey, David," he said, "you and Betty come out to the car." I said, "Come out." So we walked out to the car with him, and he was writing this song. And he said, "I just want to know what you guys think about this song." So he started singing Mom and Dad Waltz. But in those days, it was Mom's Waltz. Dad wasn't involved with it at that particular moment until we said, "Well, where's Dad?" And he was singing the whole song, Mom, Dad. Then he finally said, "Well, maybe I better put Dad in there because he's gonna be awful mad if I don't." So then he put Dad in. It was the Mom and Dad Waltz, and what a great song. And because he went on from there, he has so many great songs that we'd be here all day just talking about him. He's an amazing man.
No doubt. You know, his music, David, left so much of an impact on just musicians and singer-songwriters and people in general in the music industry. And I always relate to it to me because I would say old, but that classic country sound, music that still lives on today that we hear from stations that play this. You know, we have one called 97.1 The Legends down here in Houston. And, of course, you know, Sirius XM Prime Country. This music lives on 40, 50, 60 years later. And I think it's got to be a credit to a combination of things, such as you guys by working with some of the most talented people in the industry. But a credit does go out to the you guys writing it, and also some of the music, the songwriters you guys worked with, right?
Well, we just knew some of the best writers in the absolute world. Waddy Schaefer, that was actually from Texas, and he was one of Lefty's best friends, and also one of his best writing partners. They wrote "That's the Way Love Goes," Benny the Rodeo Clown. They wrote all that stuff. And but there's one time I wanted to just mention one other thing about when we lived in Snyder. My uncle lived in Kermit, Texas.
Oh yeah.
You know where that's at?
I know where that's at. I do.
Okay. Yeah. He lived up in Kermit, Texas. My dad's brother, and I'd go up and stay there. I'd stay with him. I went to school there for a little while. And while everybody else, lived in Snyder. Anyway, so they had a radio station there, and my uncle took me to the radio station, and he got me on, and I was singing every Sunday. I was singing on the radio. Back I was 9 years old. Sound like a little girl. Reason why I know it sounded like a little girl because my wife Joanne has got a copy of me singing "I Love You 1,000 Ways." Sounded like a little girl, really did. And that's back when I was 9 years old. So I've been going ever since then. I have not stopped. I've been playing music one way or the other for all these years.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't stand to be away from my music. I just love the music. But I'm, real close to the Lefty sound. Lefty's all his music. I love him.
Mm-hmm.
But then I made real good friends with Merle Haggard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. There's Lefty, and then there's Merle Haggard.
Yeah.
And Lefty and Merle was so loved Lefty so much that he could just sound. He's the only one I know that could sound just exactly like Lefty if he wanted to, and he wanted to most of the time. I just love those guys. Matter of fact, I ended up writing a song of my two heroes, and it's called Lefty, Merle, and Me. And so I wrote the song, and Marty Haggard came in the studio while I was recording, and he got in and he sang he sang the verse about his dad. So it's me and Marty Haggard singing Lefty, Merle, and Me. I thought it was a great song. I'll do it for one of these days.
I like that too, and I love the one that you guys put out this year. Speaking of the tribute to Merle Haggard, the way it was in '51. I was playing that before the show, of course, just to check out more stuff, and of course, play classic country as I always play on my playlist for Apple and things like that. Where did you guys kind of come up with the idea for this one? Because again, you just put your personal touch on a great tune and a great tribute to Merle.
I tell you, the thought of that goes back a little ways. I would say back in the '70s when I was with Buck Owens. I was working with the great Buck Owens. I was just part of his, the touring team and working out of their office and that kind of, they booking all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I was always on the lookout for a hit song, and I kind of still am. I'm just kind of into that, always looking for something that sounded like a hit song. Well, there was this time that I was working in Sparks, Nevada, and Merle was working in Reno, and so he called me one afternoon. I thought it was Tommy Collins on the phone. I thought it was Tommy Collins I was talking to, and I finally realized it was Merle. And he said, "Come on down to the room." He said, "And let's go. Let's throw the guitar back and forth." That time, so I went down there, and we was singing one song. He's singing one, I'd sing one, and we'd compare everything we did to what Lefty did, And so finally, Merle said, "Let me play you a new song." And so he got out a song called "That's the Way Love Goes."
Oh yeah. Yep.
And That's the Way Love Goes. So that one, but it was a song called "That's the Way It Was" in '51. And I need to tell my wife Joanne that my light just went out. You hear me? My light just went out. But anyway, so he played me "That's the Way It Was" in '51. And I said, "Merle, man, I got to have that song." He said, "David, I can't give you that song. That's my next single." Merle, I can't help it. I got to have that song. It's a great song. And so he said, "David, I'm going to do, I'm going to say," he said, I've just finished recording my last album for the year. He said, I got all these songs left over. I got a lot of songs. And he said, "I tell you what I'm going to do." He said, "I'm going to send you 10 songs. I'm going to send you 10 songs. And he said, I guarantee you that 6 of those 10 are hits." I said, "Merle, do me just one more favor. When you send me those 10 songs, underline those 6, because sure as heck, I'll be singing them other ones." And he did. He sent me 10 songs, and I can't remember exactly. I did take one of them off of there, and I did admit Buck Owens produced it for me, and I can't remember the name of it right off the bat because it's so long ago. But just being around those kind of guys was just kept me going,
No doubt. And I tell you what, it's amazing. It's so good to see touring back out there, Dave, with artists kind of doing their thing and making their music, stepping back on stage, entertaining live audiences. I went to a show the other night. It was great to see fans just drinking, having a good time, and just kind of letting loose. You guys, I mean, you've been touring since you were 12 with Lefty through the 50s and 60s. And of course, I know you served in the Air Force before signing with Columbia Records there in 1970. But take me through how back then, and even today now, but going through a tough time like a pandemic, and you guys really had to, and even today, you still got to tour because that's most of a musician's income.
That's exactly right. I tell you what, I've never had my music taken away from me, and that pandemic took it away. And just that feeling of not being able to get out and perform your songs for maybe somebody that really would like to hear it, And I've just never been able to not get out and perform my songs. The pandemic did all of that. And I'm so glad, so proud. I've been praying like everybody else that it would be over. And now it's over. Now we're back out. We're doing some shows out and we're just having the time of our lives again. But back in those early days, you're right. I did tour with Lefty. And I was with him up to 1960 and touring with him. I tell you what was so great about it actually kept me from just working probably a refrigerator door opening or something, you know what I mean? Just my guitar and just being with him because he was invited to be on every show there was. And in those days, back in the touring season, back in 1956, all the way up to 1960 when I was with him, you might play like a Friday and a Saturday someplace, but almost every Sunday there was a package show. And on those package shows would be 10, 15, 20, maybe 25 artists that are hitting all the charts. I mean, Johnny Cash, George Jones, just all these great artists. And I got a chance to be on the same stage. When Lefty went, I went. And when he got his guitar, I got my guitar. So Lefty let me get up and I'd do 2 songs and then I'd bring him out. And, I'd bring him out and then I'd step back out of the way and I'd sing a little harmony with him when time come. And I'd play guitar a little bit and then I'd play a little harmonica with him, Then I'd sing harmonies with him and so forth. But just being around those men, Johnny Cash go out. I never missed a Johnny Cash song. Sure, I never missed one. I'd be back behind the curtain, but boy, I stand there where I could see him real well. And all of them, I got a chance to see them all. I remember one time we got back home. Lefty lived outside of San Fernando Valley in California and had a big home out there. And one morning I was about 10 o'clock in the morning. I guess we just gotten back from about a month tour in Texas and Oklahoma. I love Texas and Oklahoma. Anyway, I was there with the guitar just like I am right now. And I'd be sitting, I was just kind of picking on something, trying to play something. And he came by going into the kitchen. And he looked down and I didn't realize he was there for a few minutes. Finally, I realized it. I looked up there and there was Lefty standing there. He said, David, he said, you're very, very, very right, buddy. He said, play all those songs. He said, learn everything you can for being out there amongst all the greats. He says, he says, you get the chance to learn everything and everything. He said, but I just want to tell you one thing. At the end of the day, we don't need another Johnny Cash. Johnny's doing really well with that. He said, we don't need another me. He said, but I'm having a little trouble with him. He said, but he said, we need another David. We need a David out there. So at the end of the day, do all this stuff, learn everything you can from everybody. But at the end of the day, we need a David Frizzell. Yeah. So they bring me. So then he walked on into the kitchen. And so I just kept on playing, just kind of playing. And about 15 minutes later, he walked back in there and he stopped again. I looked up at him. He said, and we don't need another Bob Dylan either. And he walked in the other room. We need another David. So finally, I got a chance. I gave him one.
I love it. Just great stories, no doubt. We still got a lot to talk about here on the Backstage Pass. Of course, a lot of the big songs, Set 'Em Up, Joe, and of course, everything. And then some. But I tell you what, I want to hear the vocals that have been going on for a lot of years, my friend. So dealer's choice, whatever you want to play for us here on the Backstage Pass, my friend. Take it away. It's all yours.
You want me to play something for you?
Let's do it.
Me and you?
Do it.
Oh.
You just play it for us. I'm going to let you take it.
I'm going to hire wino, decorate a home. You feel more at ease now, and you won't need to roam. We'll take out the dining room table, put a bar along that wall. Hey, neon sign will point the way to our bathroom down the hall. She said, bring those Friday paychecks, and I'll cash them all right here. And I'll keep on tap for all your friends, your favorite kind of beer. And for you, I'll always keep in stock those soft aluminum cans, so that when you're feeling macho, you can crush them like a man. She said, we'll rip out all the carpet, put sawdust on the floor. So that's, you know what, I'm messing up here because I started laughing about.
It's all good.
I started laughing about. Well, what a great song!
It is.
Dwayne Blackwell was the writer of that song, and there was
Uh-huh.
another guy too. I can't remember his name, but Dwayne Blackwell. He wrote "Friends in Low Places" and some of his songs. What a great writer! And he wrote the Wino song. What a great guy! What an absolute great guy!
Just love the fact that that's the one that you can hear on Sirius XM, Prime Country Channel 58, or anything in 97.1, the Legends down here near Houston, too. I know the other one that really busted out for you and really just a great record, You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma. Let's break that one down a little bit because it has to be fun.
There's a full moon over Tulsa. I hope that it's shining on you. The nights are getting colder in Cherokee County. There's a blue northern passing through. I remember green eyes and a rancher's dawn. Remembers all that I do. Losing you left a pretty good cowboy with nothing to hold on to. Sundown came and I drove to town to drink a drink or two. You're the reason God made Oklahoma. You're the reason God made Oklahoma. And I'm sure missing you. And I'm sure missing you. Now this is Shelley's part, right? I better stop right there and let her.
Stop right there.
Let's start bringing her in.
That was Shelley's part. I love that. It's good stuff, no doubt.
I love all those songs. I love them type of songs,
not
just those particular two. But I love that type of song. They're kind of still a little story, you know. And everybody, when I did the Wino song, that made a lot of noise around the country, as you can imagine. And everybody was saying, what do you think about that? And I said, well, I think of it as a love song. And the reason why is because if this lady is going to do all of that stuff for me, I'm going to have to love her for it because there's a lot she's planning on doing. And so I've always loved that song.
No doubt, too. And that song won that Country Music Association Song of the Year and Vocal Duet of the Year awards in 1981. And, of course, I think you guys were nominated for a Grammy Award for the Best Country Performance by Duo or Group with that vocals. So, again, the song meant so much to Americana, just so much to, culture out there. I think people can relate so much to it and resonate with a song like that.
You know, right over my head, if I move my head just right, you can see some of those.
Here's the hardware right there.
Yeah, just right there. There's a few of them. We did get a few, Grammy nominations and that sort of stuff. But working with Shelley was pretty amazing. She was. I never seen anybody that no matter what I did vocally, she was right there. No matter if I curled my voice this way or didn't curl it that way or whatever I did, she just was right there no matter what. I've never seen anybody that could do that, but she was probably one of the best I've ever seen. And then working with her around the world, actually, it was just amazing. I miss her really bad. I miss her a lot.
Yeah. And I know you guys had that particular tune, and if I remember correctly, correct my memory, but it was featured in that Clint Eastwood movie too, right? Yeah.
That's exactly right. Matter of fact, Snuff Garrett was the guy who was doing the producing on I somehow or other I got his phone number from somebody, and I was living up out of the Bakersfield area, and of course Snuff was down in Hollywood area, and he was doing the soundtracks for Clint Eastwood and Burt Reynolds. Wow. He's doing the soundtracks. So anyway, I got in touch with him and I sent him a song. I sent him 2 songs, I think it was, that I went into Buck Owens studio and I took Shelley and my brother Alan with me and took the whole band that we had in those days, took them in the studio with me and we recorded 2 or 3 songs and I sent them to Snuff Garrett. And about 2 days after I sent them, I got a call from Snuff. He called me up. He said, David, he said, these songs are really good. He said, but you didn't send me any pictures. You didn't send me any pictures of what you guys look like. And he said, I tell you what, he said, go out and take some pictures, send me some pictures. And if you look anything like you sound, I'm going to make you and Shelly West the Sonny and Cher of country music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he did exactly that. And after we recorded the whole album, and the Oklahoma song was a part of that, the record label that we signed with uh, when we first signed with them, they wanted country music in there. But in the length of time it took us to get the album done and ready to go, they had changed CEOs. The new CEO didn't like country music, didn't want no country music.
Mm.
And so we didn't have a record label. So Snuff Garrett started playing that for everybody, every record label there was in the country. And everybody said no, even though the album is incredible. But not only that, but I'm Lefty's brother, and she's Dottie West's daughter. And there's a marketing strategy there. You got to understand that. And so one day, I got a call from Snuff, and he said, David, listen to this. He said, here I am. He said, me and Clint Eastwood coming back from an art show in Palm Springs. And he said, I had him in the car. He said, I'm driving from there all the way back to all the way back to L.A., Hollywood. And he said, so I thought, well, I know he's not going to jump because I'm going 70 miles an hour. So I know he's not going to jump. So he played him, You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And after he played the song, Clint just sat there, didn't say anything for just about a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, man, that's a pistol. He said, let's put that in my next movie. And Eastwood and the Snuff said, I'll tell you what I do. He said, you come help me with it and I'll give you half of it. So they put it in the movie, but they not only put it in the movie, but they put it in there in 3 different places in that movie, In Which Way You Can is the name of it. And so then they put it out on the soundtrack. Disc jockeys all over the country was taking Oklahoma off of that soundtrack. So when they seen that kind of thing going on all around the United States, Warner Brothers put it out as a single, and it went to #1 just about as fast as we're doing this interview.
Those good songs find a way to make their way to #1, such as the Wino song too. And I tell you what, you got to do a little bit of this for me too, because my grandma and grandpa raised me right, no doubt. Let's do a little set 'em up, Joe. What do you say?
Oh, I don't even know how. I haven't seen that since I recorded it. Just one of those. I never had a chance to sing it. I don't have it on the show. I never set them up. I remember liking the song when I recorded it, but I never got a chance to play it after that. So I'm sorry, but
no, you're good. I wish I could. Well, I don't sing as great as you do, but I don't have my player hooked up right now too. But that's one that I love so much. And then you guys, I'm going through a lot of the music. "Sunny Side of the Mountain," another great song. Love that one.
We recorded so many songs, and then there was so many songs that was taken out to be put on a live show, and some of those didn't make it to that. But then so there was a lot of great songs though. Every once in a while, I'll sit back and get one of the albums out, and I think there were 4 or 5 of those albums, and I'll listen to one. And I said, "Boy, that was a good song. I'm glad we did that one." Or there was some, "Oh, I wish we hadn't have done that one." But most of them were all. And on the first album with the Oklahoma song, there were 4 hits on that album, and every one of those albums, every one of those songs came out as a single off of that album. It was a great album, just a great blasted album.
I love that one too. Mention that one, and also I always call it the Wheels song, but 18 Wheels of Humming, which is one of my favorites out there too.
You're picking all the songs that I don't sing anymore.
You don't sing anymore. Well, tell me about 18 Wheels. How did that one kind of kick started?
I don't even remember how that one came to me. It was probably there was a fellow named Steve Dorff, who was also a part of the team. One of the most talented people I've ever even been around, and I've been around a bunch of them. And Steve, about a year or 2 ago, that's probably 2 years ago now, has moved to Nashville. So he's right here in town, one of the most talented. And he's out and he's producing albums on people and songs on people, and all over the country, New York. He's going everywhere, and just laying his magic out there because he's just one of the best. But he was in the team that produced me and Shelly. and just a great guy, Snuff Garrett. And I tell you, I remember one time we were in the studio there out of Hollywood. It was Tom Jones' studio, the great
Wow.
Tom Jones. So he had the studio. Anyway, we were in there recording, and we took a little break, and I walked outside, and Merle Haggard's bus was sitting there. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know he was there. So I walked over the bus, and I just opened it up and went on in. And he came walking down up the hall and saw me there, and he said, "Boy," he said, "David, there for a while, I was worried about you." He
Mhm.
said, I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Oh, you finally got that hit." I said, "That's because I kept going after him. We're not going to give up finding a hit song." But anyway, I asked him for him to come on in. So he came in. I said, "Bring that guitar while you at it." So he
Mhm.
came into the studio, and he played on a couple of songs. And then we did a song. It was a kind of a song about Brother Lefty, and we wrote out some words there for him to sing, and he
Mhm.
sang it with me. I can't remember the name of the song right, not coming to me right this minute.
Mhm.
But Hag sang on it and everything. And then about when we did the whole album, we did everything. Then we went back to work. We went back to we were in California. We went back to Nashville. We toured all over the country. Me and Shelley was doing 25, 26, 28 dates a month.
Mhm.
You
So
remember, you can imagine how busy we were. Anyway, they were going to mix that album that I was just talking about.
mhm.
He mixed it, and the guy who was mixing it hit the wrong button, and the whole song disappeared with Merle on it.
Wow.
And Snuff Garrett was going to have a conniption, when he did that. Finally, he had the studio put the whole thing back together, and we went back in and redid the song again. But Merle wasn't there at that time,
Mhm.
so the what we had with us both being together at that moment wasn't there when we were not together. So the
Mhm.
song changed in my the song was a little different, and I kind of lost track of it over all these years. But it
Mhm.
was a great thing when me and Merle was doing it at the same time, the same place, at the same thing. So it's just amazing how things work out when you're there, at the right time.
Yeah, and I tell you what, you guys have done well in the albums recently. One that I love so much and play often in the car driving or here at the house, the Frizzell and Friends. This is our time
Oh yeah.
record too. Love that one too. That you guys did so many great tributes in there. I know you one was in honor of Lefty and Merle and just traditional music, and I know one was Lefty, Merle, and me, and man, just I mean, Marty Haggard was on that with you guys, and that's
Oh,
just a great down home classic
you
country album.
When I got the idea for doing that album, I know I was coming home from someplace, and I got the idea of Frizzell and Friends album, and so I called my wife Joanne. And I said, "I got this album, of doing with all my good friends," and she said, "Well, what if you don't have any friends?" I said, "What?"
Wow.
I'll have to name it something else. But anyway, so the first guy I called was Merle. I called
Mhm.
him. And I said, "Merle, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm driving into my driveway, David. What do you want?" I said, "I want you to come. I want to find out what your schedule is. I want to get you in Nashville, and I want to go in the studio with you. Have you
Uh-huh.
come in and sing something with me?" And so he said, "Well, I'll get all that information to you." And he said, "I can't wait to get out there and do this with you." So I finally found out when he was going to be in town. And when I found out he was going to be in town, I put it all together, and I put most everybody else lives here. And but Merle lived out of Redding, California.
Mhm.
So I had to get him when he was coming through and get him at the right time. But we did. If you got the money, I got the time.
Oh yeah.
And and it's just so incredible. Gene Watson came in, and I didn't realize I didn't really have it in my mind to do a
Mhm.
duet with each one of these people. It was not in my head. It wasn't that. It was just have somebody coming on like Merle, and he'd sing whatever he wanted to say. I've been say sing whatever you want to do. Well,
Mhm.
let's do, if you got money, I got time. We'll do it together. But every one of those songs on that album are duets.
Wow.
And
Mhm.
Crystal
Yep.
Gale, oh man, her did an incredible song.
Mhm.
And and she played. I remember her coming in the studio, and we played the song for her. What was going to do, and for some reason, it's not even the title's not coming to me
Mhm.
at the moment, even though I wrote the song. Uh, anyway, she came in. She said, "Man, this is a great song. Who wrote this song?" I said, "Well, I did." She said, "You did?" I said, "What do you mean?" It sounded like you didn't think. Like, no, I wrote that song. And Joe, what's the name of that song? Wedding Dress for Sale.
Wedding Dress for Sale.
Yep. That's it. You've got it on that album.
Mm-hmm.
And her and I and me and T. Graham Brown,
yep.
Jimmy Fortune. Oh my God, what a singer!
Jimmy Fortune. Yep.
There's not a better singer in the world than those guys. I'm just talking. Johnny Lee, him and I. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, we had a great time. But just a great album, and it all turned out to be all duets on that particular song.
You got some. Yeah, you got some shows you're going to be busy coming up here in a couple of weeks. So actually one for November 19th. I want to put that out there for people who are tuning in there for Columbus, Indiana, the Who's Who Country Music Awards, Saturday, November 19th. And then December 6th on a Tuesday, Christmas Cops and Country Music in Nashville. You can get your tickets at davidfrizzell.com. Yeah. And then some other shows. So keep it tuned there. It's just two of the ones I want
to do. Me and Jeannie Seeley and T. Graham, I think, are doing a thing somewhere in New Mexico, and out of Rio Dosa, New Mexico. What a beautiful place! And then we're going on to California for a little bit, and we're working with some people out of California on a documentary of the great Lefty Frizzell. So I'm really anxious to get that for you and get that documentary out there. And then if that works out, documentary works out, which we hope it will, because we got everybody in the world talking about who Lefty was to them, And then hopefully we're going to get into doing a movie of the great Lefty Frizzell.
Oh man,
now come on,
I'd be right there, front and center, buying a ticket for it and just watching it. And like I said, that's just again the history of it too. It's like going to a museum. I look at it as just the value of seeing things or learning new cultures, learning new things about everything out there. I just love the history of music, and he was right there with him.
I was with him for all those years, and we got back to Nashville one time. It's back in 1959, and we were Lefty had a session coming up in Nashville, and we was in California, so we had to drive all the way. We drove instead of flying because we had some dates to do on the way out and something on the way back from Nashville. So we went to Hobbs, New Mexico, and we did 3 dates there, and then we came on that one. So come on into Nashville. And when we came into Nashville, Lefty called his producer, Don Law of Columbia Records. Don Law, an amazing man. And he had produced all those hits on Lefty, And so we met. He said, "Where you at right now?" And Lefty told me, "Well, we're at a gas station. We're filling up with gas. I'm calling you." He said, "Well, don't move." He said, "I know exactly where you're at. I'll be right there." So he met us at this little gas station, and he brought a little reel-to-reel tape. You know what I'm talking about? A little reel-to-reel tape. And Lefty had a little tape recorder with him, and so we took it in this store, plugged it in, and hooked that song up, and it was The Long Black Veil. Remember the song, Long Black Veil?
I do, yep.
And so he played it, and it was Mary John Wilkins singing it was just with a piano. And I wished I'd have kept that tape because that was amazing. I don't know whatever happened to it, but I don't have it. I hope somebody would say, "David, here it is," and you can have it. But anyway, and a few days later, Lefty went in to that session, and he recorded The Long Black Veil. And I'm sitting right there with him in the control room, and I'm watching him. And I've never seen anybody in the world be able to take a song and do that much with it. Just vocal. He just nailed it.
Yeah.
Been recorded a lot of different times, and I love everybody's version of it, but you're not going, as far as I'm concerned, Lefty nailed that sucker. And I got a chance to sing a couple of songs for Don and them, and they put me on Columbia Records. That's when I first went on Columbia Records, 1959. I was 18 years old, and Don Law produced a couple of sessions on me. I didn't have any hits on it because I hadn't been in the hit looking situation up until after that. I started looking for hits. I finally found some.
So timeless stories, and those stories will stay with you forever. And
Oh yeah.
again, he's such an impact. And I want to tell you this as I get into a little rapid fire here. I do these little questions to get to know,
Okay.
more personal basis and just have fun with it too. But I wanted to mention this before I kind of throw some of those out there. I went to Los Angeles about 2 or 3 years ago before the pandemic happened. I got to go for the first time to the Walk of Fame, and I
Oh,
saw
okay.
your brother's star right
Yeah.
there. I stopped, took a picture with it too, and
Oh, great.
anything on that Walk of Fame out there too, near every attraction that Hollywood has to offer, David. I love the fact you can just walk out there, see all the Walk of Fame, all the Hollywood stars, and Lefty's is right there still today. One
It
of the
is.
most popular ones on that Walk of Fame.
I know that I went to it right after, not too long after they did it, and I can't remember what date it was that I was there, but we took pictures of me with this with that. And if you look up one, Michael Jackson's is right up next to him.
That's right.
Sort of, Michael Jackson is one star up, but that's great. And man, just working with Lefty and just learning, he taught me everything. He taught me how to get on the stage, what to do while I was there, and how to get off of the stage. He taught me everything, how to walk down the street. And I did. And Lefty was one of those kind of guys that that he was not going to be like anybody else. Somehow or other, he's going to find a way for him to be an original in everything that he did. Matter of fact, if he's walking down the street with you and you start walking the same cadence, he'd start dragging one foot. He was not going to be like anybody else. He was an amazing guy, but he taught me all of that. He taught me all of that. And then when I got with Merle Haggard, he was kind of like that too.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of a kind, boy. And I got a chance. And I had all these great heroes. Johnny Cash is still one of my great heroes, and Merle and Lefty, of course. Marty Robbins. I don't know if you ever had a chance to meet Marty or be around him in any way, shape, or form, but he was an amazing man. I mean, I didn't want to follow him on the stage. Nobody, I don't know anybody wanted to follow him on a show because he was one of the best there was on doing live shows. But it's I've been a blessed person. I've been
Mm-hmm.
around all these kind of people my whole life, and I've just been blessed. And I just have to tell you that.
Well, I know they just had. I talked to the legend last week. Lori Morgan was here on this very platform with me, and we were talking about Keith Whitley, Jerry Lee Lewis getting into the Country Music Hall of Fame, and I believe it was 1982. Correct me if I'm wrong. Lefty got into that same
Yeah.
very much Country Music Hall of Fame, and even today, some people have to wait it out too. But Lefty didn't take long. I mean, after his passing there, 1982, to get into the Country Music Hall of Fame, and now to see two of the greats like Jerry Lee Lewis join him and Keith Whitley. Well deserved, right?
It is so deserved. I knew Keith a little bit and toured with him a little bit here and there. He was an amazing guy. And there too, him like me, Lefty was one of his heroes. And just the type of vocal that Lefty represented. But he wasn't the only one. Merle and me, and the two biggest Lefty fans in the world was me and Merle. That just can't be anybody. Anybody gonna beat that? But and Jerry Lee, I worked a lot with Jerry Lee over the years, and we did a thing one time in Memphis. I don't know what the reason for it was, but we was coming through and we was invited to come over to this house, and me and Shelley. So we went over to this house, and Jerry was there, and he was playing piano. He wasn't playing this kind of piano. He was he's playing unbelievable. And I always kind of looked at him as being, a rocker and all that. But that particular night, he laid down some piano,
Mm-hmm.
The Beethoven stuff, that really took some playing. But he was a master on that blast piano.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to know each other pretty well. And did a lot of shows over the years. Miss him a lot. He was an amazing man. And but it's that there's so many, we've just lost so many,
Mm-hmm.
And when Johnny Cash left us, I was about ready to give it up. I said, if you're going to take Johnny Cash from me, that's it. I'm going to have to quit. But we just lost so many of the great ones. But you know what? It means a lot more, I think, when you get an award like that.
Mm-hmm.
And inducted into I was just inducted into the Texas Hall of Fame.
I did know. Yes, congratulations.
Yeah, just not long ago. Anyway, but you know what? It's so much more when you get inducted while you're alive.
Yeah,
You
Jerry.
get a chance to to accept that award. And Christopherson took that award to Jerry Lee, and what an amazing picture that with him handing that trophy over to Jerry Lee. That is you can imagine what they felt like. It's amazing. But to do that while they're still alive is the way to do that, I think.
I'm glad Jerry, before he passed, Jerry Lee knew he got that mantle right alongside Keith Whitley in the Country Music Hall of Fame. All right, let me ask you this: when you're not doing
a lot of great ones that just went in there in the last little while.
Sure,
it's great. It's great. It's just nice. It's really nice.
It is too. All right, during
you did something right somewhere.
yeah, maybe you did something right somewhere. When it comes to the I guess the food, the beverages, things like that, what's a good David Frizzell cuisine, food wise, or beverage? What do you like?
God, I love my wife's cooking. That is basically the whole thing. Whatever she cooks is it. We've been on the road most of our lives, and we've left. We've been in every restaurant in the world, I suppose, by now. And but my wife's cooking is the absolute best, and so I'm enjoying that while we've got a few days off here before we get ready to go out, get in that bus and head off again. But she's just the best. But I would say, I was raised on cornbread and beans. You know what I mean? And my mom was great she was a great cook too. I never seen anybody go into a kitchen with nothing there and come out with a full meal. I never seen anybody. He was amazing. But cornbread and beans but I like I like steak too. I like a good steak.
Yep.
I like a good roast. You know what I mean? So I like soups and today she's got split pea soup with ham in it. Oh, I can't wait to get to it here in a few minutes.
I'll let you get to it right there. Hey, just awesome to do this with you and finally catch up. And man, just keep it going. You guys have been doing it for so long. You're such a legend in the business, a music icon, all the awards, the contributions to country music, my friend, your brother, the Frizzell family, and just all the great relationships you had in so many years of playing. And man, I hope many more. God bless you, David, and thank you for joining me here on the show today.
We appreciate that. And one little thing I would like to tell you before we do get off here is that we're doing that thing on Lefty, and I'm also doing a tribute album to Lefty. I'm in the middle of it, right? Well, I got about one more session to go, and I've called in people that had something to do with Lefty, like Bill Anderson. He co-wrote Saginaw, Michigan.
Yep.
Which is so I got Bill in there, and him and I did a duet on Saginaw, Michigan for that album. I got Shelley West to come in, and her and I did a duet. Shelley West, me and her, not long ago, and we did "I Love You a Thousand Ways" with me and her singing it.
Wow!
And now I got oh God, there's just some great people coming in and talking about who left and singing songs that meant something to them, but also meant everything to Lefty. So I'm involved with that, and I'll have that done here before the year is up. And well, I better hurry, hadn't I? This year is almost up.
It's coming up pretty quick. And when you do, you're welcome to come right here on this platform, David, and talk all about it too, and tell us everything about everything.
Do that,
as we do that, and just great contributions, great music, guys. You can still go check out davidfrizzell.com for all the tour dates. We mentioned a couple here on the broadcast, and make sure you guys go to that very website and check them out for the rest of it too. Hey, enjoy the break, and happy holidays to you and Joanne, the family, and definitely looking forward to talking about the new project as we close out the year and into 2023. David, we appreciate it. Looking forward to catching up soon, my friend.
It's going to be great. Thanks for having me on the show, pal.
You got it, man. DavidFrizzell.com. And, of course, we're not done. 2 more shows to go today on the Backstage Pass presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey. We'll see you guys in just a few minutes with American Blonde here, the sister duo. You don't want to miss them here on the show. Then, of course, another Texas artist coming on at 4:30 today. She's getting big out there. Kate Watson, good Texas artist out there too. Killing it here in Nashville too. She's doing good.
A lot of things going there, pal.
We have to here on the show. Tomorrow, a good friend is going to be coming up here too as well. I've got to remember my shows coming up tomorrow too, because there's so much more this week too on the Backstage Pass. Again, check it out. The Sports Guys podcast.com. It's a grand slam of sports and music. And, of course, check out CajunCountryRadio.com for the best in Zydeco and Cajun music. And while you're at it, put on some David Frizzell because I keep doing
Put
that
a
around
little,
my
put a little
household.
David on there, Pat.
Put a little David on
Yeah.
there.
Thank
We'll
you,
see you
Pat.
guys soon. Y'all take care.